Hello and welcome back to my channel, Logically Literate. I'm here today with my terrible deep Q learning algorithm, who I've named DeQuaN. Get it? And I'm going to talk today about what I've done and why it is so terrible. I have some thoughts as to why it's doing what it's doing. In a second here I will show you what it's doing, but to put it short and sweet, it's essentially doing one thing and one thing only. When it's not turning its gun towards the ground and turning its power up ridiculously high, it spends its days shooting in the exact same location without any reason, endlessly. And I think I know why. DeQuaN likes to sit in one spot without moving, because he can't. He likes to leave his power at the initial, let's call it velocity, and he likes to leave his angle at the initial angle. He then sits there and fires the exact same shot over and over again without any attempt to get closer to the enemy. DeQuaN thinks it's much more valuable to be okay at something versus putting in the investment up front to get really good at something. The reason is the reward function that he's trained against rewards average behavior back to back much better than average behavior followed by a whole bunch of changes followed by very good behavior. DeQuaN is stuck in a valley right now in his thinking. The reward function puts about 5 points out of a maximum of 120 on the event that is changing your power and changing your angle. It gives you 5 points if you would do the same thing that the red player would do, and it gives you 1 point if you don't do the same thing that the red player would do. The red player essentially is firing a shot randomly and then walking that shot in closer and closer to the enemy until it gets a hit, and then it just hits that same spot. DeQuaN has learned that if he fires the same average shot multiple times in a row, he actually gets more reward than if he is to fire one probe shot, adjust his power, and walk his shots in towards the enemy, which is how any human would play this game. When DeQuaN fires a probe shot, he gets a certain amount of reward. If he then follows up with another probe shot, he gets that same amount of reward. So take this scenario. Imagine I tell you that you have 5 shots. Or, to make it simpler, let's say 3 shots. In the first scenario, you play like a human would, and you take a shot. You notice that shot is far away from the tank, so you increase your power by 1, and you fire again. Those 3 actions give you a reward of about, let's say your first shot is worth 60 points, then you increase your power by 1 and you shoot again. Those 3 shots give you a reward of about 125 points. Now let's take the DeQuaN approach and let's just fire the same shot 3 times in a row. That gives us 180 points. So if you're looking at your current state and you're trying to calculate the pathway to the most reward, considering that as you get further away from where you're at, your trust in the prediction falls off, you're essentially looking at having a small sliding window starting at where you are, going up to some number n of time that you're looking at to optimize. And so what DeQuaN's doing is he's saying, well, if I only have 3 shots and I have to maximize the reward I get in 3 shots, or 3 moves, 3 actions, then 3 shots is much more valuable than a shot, a move, and a shot, or even a shot and 2 moves. So the issue with my current iteration is that DeQuaN is not being rewarded properly. So to fix that, the proper way to reward DeQuaN is a power increase, an angle increase or decrease for both of those, or a fire that doesn't result in damage should be roughly equivalent. Then, when a fire event gives damage, you get a huge spike in reward. This will mean that when DeQuaN is looking at actions to take, he will treat firing a shot and moving his power and angle fairly equivalently until he reaches a point where a fire actually gives him a lot of reward. I think this will make that window wider and will allow DeQuaN to look further out ahead versus just saying, oh, well, a shot is worth a lot right now, so I'm just going to stay where I'm at and fire a shot. I think it makes the valleys of this optimization problem much less shallow and easier to get out of, which when epsilon is larger and the game is more random, it'll allow us to hop around more. But then once we start fitting our DeQuaN, our DeQuaN, to the model of the game, I think it'll have an easier time pulling itself out of the valleys of not really knowing where the enemy is. So that's my summary on where I'm at so far. Over the next week or so, I'm just going to be tweaking with the reward function for the most part and seeing if I can get DeQuaN to learn a little bit better. And hopefully by next week's video, I'll have a much smarter DeQuaN and maybe even something that's playable. Additionally, I think over the next week or so, I'm going to reduce the problem down to one dimension. And by that, I mean I'm going to only allow DeQuaN to change the power of his gun and see if I can get him to just increase or decrease power to get his fire event to be more rewarding. So with all that being said, if you like these videos, go ahead and give me a like. If you have any questions about what I'm doing or what I've done in the past with this project, leave a comment below. If you are interested in doing something similar or taking my project and trying some ideas out you have on your own, I've got the link for my GitHub down in the description below. Head over there, check it out, you download the code. It's fairly easy to run. If you need help setting it up, let me know. Otherwise, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get notified when my next video comes out. You can keep up with DeQuaN and see how he's doing throughout his lifetime. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.